Hello, good afternoon and welcome to the Midday News. This bulletin is coming to you live from our studios here at Kokomlem Lane, Accra, on digital address GA0993341 on Joy 99.7 FM. Is also live on Love 99.5 FM in Kumasi, affiliates across the country on ABN Radio in London and around the world at myjoyonline.com. The news is brought to you by Telesol 4G. Just a touch, and coming up, a mother and her baby are feared dead after heavy rains in Accra that left many areas flooded.
Water entered their premises, and at a certain point they were trying to get help, so they moved into their car, and at some point the man tried to save the wife and the baby. We had to work through the night. We could not find the body of the wife and the baby.
We have details that NADMO embarks on a tour of affected areas after 5 people were found dead in the aftermath of the rains. We'll get a live update and hear from the Meteorological Agency. Also, Education Ministry justifies controversial public universities bill.
Going to Korea or a bill having higher discount.
But the minority in Parliament has served notice it will vehemently oppose it. We'll hear from them. We apologize for that poor sound there. Also, Peace Council confident of positive outcome as it prepares to mediate between NPP and NDC to work out modalities to disband their party militia.
We will expect that after the meeting, consensus will be reached on the terms of reference and engagement. Then we'll be in a position to tell the public the venue and the timing for the mediation.
We'll get to hear from the Peace Council here on the Midday News. We also have sports.
Yes, a female referee, Theresa Bremensu, narrates her ordeal after she was attacked and beaten up by fans of the losing side in the special women's competition played yesterday in Sunyani.
We have that and more here in this edition of the Midday News on Joy 99.7 FM with me, Emefa Apau. And a mother and her baby are feared dead after Sunday's heavy rains at Flamingo in Accra. The two went missing after they tried seeking refuge in a vehicle parked in their house. 3 other people have been confirmed dead in various areas after the rains. This is according to the Greater Accra Regional Director of NADMO, Archibald Kobna. He's been touring some areas affected by the floods and admonishing players in the plastic industry to do more to keep Ghana clean. Shortly, we'll get a live update from my colleague Maxwell Agbagba, who is with the team. But listen to Mr. Kobna, who confirmed the death of 5 people earlier today.
One person at Awudome cemetery area, a male, he should be in his 40s thereabout. Another lady at Aveno, also a lady should be in his 20s thereabout. As for the woman and the baby, we still have not found them. We did the search and rescue. That's from Flamingo up to where Otabel's church is, the back there. And the search and rescue team has had to resume this morning, still searching for a woman and the baby. And there, in fact, the husband too, but the husband did not. Unfortunately, he collapsed and was. They were able to save him and take him to the hospital, and he's recovered. And then another report of a lady who was electrocuted. She was rushed to the hospital, and this morning, reports that I had confirmed that she also passed on. The unfortunate situation of death that have been reported.
But have some missing persons been reported also?
I think 2 missing persons also around the Zungo Junction area so far. Our team are solidly on the ground at the various areas. I'm presently at around Ashoman areas, and we'll be moving to join the team around Dansuma. We're trying to ensure that we do our best to hold the situation.
Besides you going, to various places around Dansuma, I'm asking whether there's any plan to meet some of the victims, people who need relief items, for instance.
Of course, usually when we do the search and rescue and we are done and the assessments are made, then we'll approach our head to ensure that whatever has to be done in terms of relief is done to lessen their burden.
So that's the Greater Accra Regional Director of NADMO, Archibald Kobna, there speaking to my colleague Nancy Emefa Dradosi. Maxwell Agbagba is with a team currently touring some affected areas. He will join us shortly. I understand we have Maxwell Agbagba joining us because they are touring some areas in Accra, those that were affected by the rains last night. Maxwell, first of all, I would want you to tell us the circumstances leading to the death of this woman and her baby.
Well, we are told that they were at home when the rain actually started. They were inside one of their rooms when the running water got into the room. So it was difficult for them to stay in there. They came outside, and on their compound, there's a pickup parked on the compound. They tried to seek refuge inside the pickup, we are told, and that was how come they were carried away by the flood water. The husband of the deceased, we told, became unconscious. The missing person, as we say, became unconscious after the incident played out right under his eyes. He has no glimmer of hope that the two are still alive. But the NADMO team and then some other residents in the community are still searching for the two people who would best describe as missing people right now, because they still not found them. But the husband of the woman believes that the two probably are not alive at this point. We've been speaking to the NADMO coordinator also. He's been confirming to us the other areas where they recorded some deaths. He told us that they found a body there. The body of a 20-year-old woman was also found somewhere around Aveno at Abosuokan. We're told that a woman was also electrocuted in that particular area, bringing the total to 3 confirmed deaths and then 2.
Now, Maxwell, you happen to be part of the tour of these affected areas. What did you see and what has NADMO been saying about the situation?
Well, for the areas that we visited, Dansoman, Kaneshie, and its environs, we observed that the flood water left in its trail broken trees, billboards, and plastic-filled drains. The NADMO coordinator is particularly not happy with the plastic situation. He thinks that players in the plastic industry, he wants them to actually do more to solve the perennial situation of flood in MFA.
I think that about yesterday night, from the rounds and the distress calls that we had, we quickly had to move in to the various areas where the call was coming from, and at the Audome, just behind the cemetery, or at the top side of the cemetery, we recorded one. There was a young man who had been trapped in there, and then at Aveno, there was another one, a female young lady, very unfortunate.
Died from the flood?
Yes.
Okay.
Where the electricity
carried there by the running water, or?
I was not at the scene at the moment. The rescue team was at the scene.
So that's Greater Accra Regional Director of NADMO, Archibald Kobna, saying once again the number of persons dead and those feared missing, amongst others. Speaking to my colleague Maxwell Agbagba. Meanwhile, head of the Central Analysis and Forecast at the Meteorological Agency, Michael Paddy, says residents should expect more heavy rains in the coming days.
We should expect at least 3 or more days in a week, rainy days. This will occur mostly mostly over the inland areas. That's Ashanti, the Volta region, especially areas around the Volta Lake where we have lots of moisture. Rain, the frequency will be quite high. Then the eastern region, Wahoo area and Koko, but along the coast, east coast, as you know, it's not been getting rain regularly. So the east coast will be quite free than the inland areas.
So that's Michael Paddy. He's head Central Analysis and Forecast at the Meteorological Agencies. We need to get ready for it and stop dumping refuse in our drains. Well, with the threat of more rains, which often comes with blackouts, some residents of Accra are demanding a load shedding plan following persistent power cuts over the weekend. It comes after the Ghana Grid Company, Gridco, asked the Power Distribution Services, PDS, to suspend its load shedding exercise as it had enough power for distribution. The residents say the absence of a plan is an inconvenience. Karen Dodu has more.
We are never back to the era where we have consistent, persistent shortfall in supply. We are in an era that there is installed capacity available, and I can assure the good people of this country that by the 12th of April, we will complete the tie.
That was Energy Minister John Peter Mewu last week, promising the power crisis would be resolved by close of this week. Subsequently, he directed the Power Distribution Company, PDS, to release a load-shedding program for consumers. However, that was cut short after Power Generation Company, Gridco, asked PDS to suspend the program, explaining it had enough power for distribution. but the persistent power cuts continued over the weekend. Residents of Dansoman, Odoko official town, and Kwashiman, who experienced the blackouts, expressed disappointment in PDS and called for a load-shedding timetable to manage their lives in times of erratic and unannounced outages.
I think the timetable is necessary for now until the problem is solved. I think when the timetable is in, it will help because now we don't know when the light will go off, when it will come on. So it's going to destroy most of our appliances.
PDS for no. I'm going for a timetable number because can you know say endum bi no nyane kure. Me the official town last stop. And ra omu dum 10 o'clock. Omu say omu 5 o'clock. Nti dum so na dey da so koso.
We say last no omu ka say enye dum so na but problem yeah.
Although they have assured that this isn't dum so. But the outages are frequent. A timetable will get us prepared.
We in the bar, timetable in the bar,
You heard there some residents calling on PDS to provide a load-shedding plan following persistent power cuts over the weekend. Now, the PDS has been unavailable for comment. This is the midday news here on Joy 99.7 FM. From the heavy rains to power supply, let's go to education because the Ministry of Education has defended its draft bill on public universities that makes government appointees dominate the boards of the various schools. Already, the bill has, however, received massive opposition from the University Teachers Association of Ghana, UTAG, who insists it infringes on the academic freedoms of the members of the university community. Law lecturer Dr. Kwejo Apieje Etua is a member of UTAG.
One major negative element of the law which violates academic freedom is the composition of the University Council, especially where it talks about rotational position for certain institutions within the university, including the University Teachers Association. Their slot has been taken away, and the number has also reduced significantly from about 16 or so, depending on which university, to just 9. And out of this 9, at the end of the day, the number would favor the government because at least 4 persons are being appointed by the government, and then the chancellor as well is a government representative, as well as the chairperson of the council. And so it's going to affect university governance, which at least university teachers are supposed to play a major role.
You heard that Dr. Kwejo Apieje Etua is a member of UTAG there. But according to the PRO of the Education Ministry, Vincent Asifua, the bill will not only ensure accountability, it will also synchronize the structures in the various schools.
For the first time in the history and annals of this country, we are having a bill, or we are going to have a law that even defines the so-called academic freedom. Clause 41 to 46 thereabout, in which law of any of our universities the debt even define what academic freedom is. The standards of good practice, in fact, in public administration, where corporate governance law is also very important, you have to make sure that in constituting a board, you have quite a number or quite a good number from external representation. The government or the Ministry of Education feels that let's have about 5 or 6 which are going to be government appointees, and the university disagrees. The best thing for them to do is to put it on paper, to make a commentary about it so that it can be inculcated in the final draft. After all, it is yet to go to Parliament for Parliament to even debate whether or not it is important to make the number 9 instead of the normal 15 that all of us know.
Vincent Asifua speaks for the Education Ministry. Well, the minority in Parliament has just waded into the controversy, insisting they will oppose it when it's laid before the House. Minority spokesperson on education, Peter Nochukotoy, has been explaining why.
So, is it a good idea? Not at all, because it is not going to give any autonomy to the university authorities to govern the universities. We know for now the various laws that establish the universities allow government to appoint the chairman of the governing council of each public university and 2 or 3 other members, and that is enough. But the government still wants to have more than 50% of the members nominated.
How do you think government is doing this?
Government is just trying to control the public universities, and that is not good. We should allow them to enjoy that autonomy. They should manage their own affairs so that they can deliver.
As an MP, when such a legislation is eventually introduced in the form that is looking currently, how can we expect of you? Will you support it?
We will not support it because, number one, we want the universities to be autonomous. Two, each university is unique. So you don't put all of them in one basket and think that they should all operate within that basket. No, they should be allowed to work on their own.
You had the minority spokesperson on education, Peter Nochu Kotoy. Let's stay a while longer in Parliament. I'm sure you all remember the minorities' protest against Ayawaso West Wuogon MP Seyram Lydia Al-Hassan during her inauguration. Of course, they are continuing the protest today. And today they refused to comment on a statement she read on the floor. The MP delivered her maiden statement to the House since being elected, calling for more health awareness as part of World Health Day celebration.
In partnership with the Ministry of Health, the Ghana Health Service, and the National Health Insurance Authority is in the process of engineering an arrangement that will ensure that every Ghanaian receives health care at the cheap level with or without financial wherewithal. Right, Honourable Speaker, it's the last piece of the UHC puzzle that will make healthcare in Ghana truly universal and make true the mantle of the Ghana Health Service, your health are concerned. Mr. Speaker, access to quality, affordable healthcare is a right and not a privilege. Access is the means of creating a strong, productive workforce, fit in the body and creative in the mind, well positioned to deliver a vibrant, resilient and progressive society. Honourable Speaker, UHC is not just an issue of health of citizens. It is, in fact, a matter of the strength of the country, captured in the health of these people, anchored in the quality of their thinking.
So you heard the Ayawaso West Wuogon MP Lydia Seyram Al-Hassan, and we are told that the minority stayed away from commenting on the statement in conformity with their decision not to recognize her as MP. Joseph Opoku-Gakpo joins us live with some details. You're saying that the minority didn't have anything to say about World Health Day celebration?
Well, in fact, the Speaker gave them the opportunity on two different occasions after there were contributions from some MPs on the majority side. Dr. Okoboy and also the MP for Kade Ohemen Tinyasi. The Speaker asked that the leadership on the minority side contribute to the statement, and Muntaka Mubarak, the Chief Whip, indicated that they would rather let it pass. And the interesting bit is the second opportunity was given, and the Speaker went back to it and asked that they contribute. And again, Muntaka Mubarak said they would rather let it pass. I've been engaging the leadership as a minority on why they did that, and the indication they give is that you would recall they marched to the CID headquarters over what had happened in the Ayawaso West Wuogon by-election and had demanded action. And even on the day that they walked out when she was being sworn in, they indicated that they were not going to recognize her. So they wouldn't want to backtrack on that and go ahead and contribute to a statement that she had delivered on the floor.
Interesting development there. But apart from this, is there anything else happening on the floor?
The House is currently dealing with the company's bill, even as they work on it. You know, they're going on break this coming Friday, the 12th of April, and this is something that they say they would want to make adequate progress on. A little later in the day, we are expecting a report from the Energy Committee on the situation having to do with the GNPC's work plan for the year 2019. As to whether they would approve it or otherwise, the minority has raised a number of concerns, and so we're waiting for that to be approved a little later in the day.
Joseph Opoku-Gakpo reporting from Parliament. You're listening to the Midday News on Joy 99.7 FM. Our top stories in this edition: a mother and her baby are feared dead after heavy rains in Accra that left many areas flooded. Also, Education Ministry has been justifying the controversial Public Universities Bill. The minority has already served notice it will vehemently oppose it. Now, still to come here on the Midday News, Peace Council confident of positive outcome as it prepares to mediate meeting between NPP and NDC to work out modalities to disband party militias now.
We will expect that after the meeting, consensus will be reached on the terms of reference and engagement. And then we'll be in a position to tell the public the venue and the timing for the mediation.
Thanks for staying with us here on the Midday News. Let's do some sports now. And Ridwan Ibrahim Asante has all the weekend sporting action right here on the Midday News. What's the latest?
You know, we had trouble, and we're all talking about one story just after yesterday, after a women's league game in Sunyani. Now, Prisons ladies, they hosted that's Ampem Dakwa ladies from Doma in the semi-final first leg, of the National Women's competition. That's a special competition organized by the Normalization Committee. And this what happened just after the end of 90 minutes, where they lost. I'm talking about Prisons ladies playing in Sunyani. They lost by a goal to nil. The referee was beaten up by some fans. That's Theresa Bremen-Su got beaten up yesterday after the final whistle. They claim that she didn't officiate well, so poor officiating cost her. She took a slap, and also some officials came in to attack her and used all sort of unsavory words on her. After the game, she spoke to Asempa FM this morning, narrating her ordeal.
Father, her son, Hannah, guy, be a top black. Or the can obey, not be bomb here. Never said, mind then, no behavior, the man. And I know bomb, no bomb, me would have me life in danger. And so we should get a pen, and I'm the pen with the one afternoon. We saw them now, prison species in Caribbean. And a guy was a blue and white. Mom slap or bomb and cassa. And I'm going to say, if someone species someone to put a wood jam, then more basic. It was one street is one about a guy who was supporting us away and Yama off Pata. And when after match, new sort of new sort, that guy be a one Mazua. A one Mazua, I get to when I get a body Yemen Posa, Ukum Panko ye.
So that was what Theresa was trying to say. Now, for those who didn't understand her in Fancy, she said that after the final whistle, a man in black lashed me with a cane, so I retaliated by piercing him with a pen. Later, a man in a blue and a white shirt slapped me heftily from behind. How can the Home Security, who are supposed to protect us, put up such an uncouth behavior? The team Mazur told me I even deserve to be beaten to death, and what they did to me was just something little. So we don't know how the authorities will react to this one. This is just one of many situations where, thugs have attacked, referees after final whistles in matches. We wait to see how the authorities will react
with the situation.
Yeah, that's your sports MFR.
Okay, thank you, Ridwan. Now, it's barely 24 hours to the much-anticipated meeting that will have the National Peace Council table a number of proposals before the New Patriotic Party and National Democratic Congress to work out modalities to disband their party militia. This is now coming 6 weeks after the president instructed the two parties to dialogue on how to disband all militia groups affiliated to them. We'll hear from the chairman of the National Peace Council shortly, but first, here's the former chief of staff during the Eswal Kufuor administration, Mr. Kojo Mpieni, and he's challenging the governing NPP and opposition NDC to admit their part in the worrying phenomenon of party militias since they formed or gave legitimacy to the groups. He's warning of dire consequences for the country's political future if the menace is not nipped in the bud.
As some people are saying, it's more a criminal than parties. But fortunately, these groups belong to these parties, and the parties themselves know them. So if the parties are very sincere and they believe that, look, we are part of the problem, so let's sit and solve the problem, I think it will go a long way in solving the problem. So I think it's not a bad idea for the parties to accept that we are part of the problem. So let's sit together, let's put our heads together and find a way of solving this problem, because it's a dangerous problem which we don't solve. The consequences, nobody knows.
You heard that Kojo Mpieni, former chief of staff during the Eswal Kufuor administration, but ahead of this meeting tomorrow, chairman of the National Peace Council, Most Reverend Professor Emmanuel Asante, says he's confident the meeting will yield the desired results.
Tomorrow's meeting is a technical meeting involving committee members from the two political parties, NDC, MPP, and a committee from the NPC. They are meeting to discuss terms of reference and terms of engagement. We will expect that after the meeting, consensus will be reached on the terms of reference and engagement. And then we'll be in a position to tell the public the venue and the timing for the mediation.
You heard the chairman of the Peace Council, Most Reverend Professor Emmanuel Asante. We understand that civil society will also be meeting the National Peace Council later today ahead of tomorrow's meeting. And also, the National Commission for Civic Education, NCC, will later today launch a report on political party vigilantism. The report is the result of consultations with political parties and other relevant institutions to collectively end political party thuggery in the country's body politics. And our campaign to disband party militias now still continues. Now, residents of Adenta and Medina have called on authorities of the Ghana highways to ensure the April ending deadline for the completion of the footbridges there is met. The footbridge became a subject of concern after a female student was knocked down and killed by a vehicle last November, sparking riots by residents demanding completion of the footbridges. With a few weeks to the deadline for completion of the project, Joy News' Kenneth Awochindako visited the area and reports work is progressing steadily.
Between January and 31st October 2018, the police MTTD recorded about 24 deaths and 164 injuries on the Adenta-Medina highway alone, prompting calls for the footbridges to be completed. While construction of the footbridges, which began in November, is nearing completion. At the time of our visit to the stretch on Sunday, work was ongoing as the engineers were seen busily installing iron rods, among other activities, to ensure the strength of the bridges. Some pedestrians who spoke with Joy News were hopeful the work would be completed by end of April 2019 deadline to reduce the number of accidents on the road.
I'm sure by the end of this month they will complete everything, because every Sunday they are working, so I'm hoping they will complete things by schedule.
I'm not really sure though, but by how it's actually going, I think it can happen. We're just hoping to have a peaceful way of crossing the road and no more accidents.
In the next few weeks, it should be. I can see, even though I'm not a contractor, I can see that the project is almost 80% done. So in the next few weeks, it should be completed. It's going to save our pedestrians from these dangerous crossings they've been taking part, and it causes accidents almost on a daily basis.
Our news team also observed some defiant pedestrians jumping over barricades right under the footbridge, meters away from the pedestrian crossing in front of a Totu Teen school. A resident called on authorities to deploy officers to vantage points after completion to ensure that pedestrians and commuters alike make use of a facility.
In certain areas, people still cross dangerously even where there are footbridges. An official must be stationed here to check these activities.
The completion of the footbridges is expected to ensure safe movement across the highway to either sides of the stretch. Kenneth Awochindako report for Joy News.
Now, from Adenta, let's head to Winneba, University of Education, Winneba to be precise, because the school has reopened today after weeks of closure following rioting over the dismissal of 30 teaching and non-teaching staff. Of course, 3 of them have been reinstated. There have been questions about that, but that's for another discussion. My colleague Richard Kojonyako has just returned from The Hague, and he's on campus and brings us the very latest from the University of Education, Winneba. So what's happening on campus, Richard?
Well, not much is happening here at the University of Education, Winneba. At the moment, the management of the university is in a meeting. You know, the university should have had its mid-semester examination until the chaos happened and they had to go home. But the students are also trickling in one after the other. And I've also moved around the university campus to see if the repair works have been done. But I can tell you that the repair works at the buildings have been done, except for the vehicles that were damaged. The vehicles belonging to the private people and the university, as well as the ATM machines that were also destroyed by the students. But at the moment, the campus is calm. But we are hearing that tomorrow there will be a demonstration by some past students of the university.
But who bears the cost, as the university stated?
Well, they have not really told us who is going to bear the cost, whether the university is going to bear the cost or they are going to share it among the students that took part, or the generality of the students that are going to pay the cost.
Richard Kojonyako there, joining us live from the University of Education, Winneba campus. And just before we go, let's talk about what you were talking about on social media, Maps.
Well, people are talking about the Bank of Ghana on Twitter, and at Baker says, I hope it's not one of the makeshift attempts to arrest the lazy Ghana CD, and at WWE underscore GH says, so Bank of Ghana cannot print currencies to last for a decade. Changes in Kwa. Even that 5 peso coin has been useless in trading. And at King of Accra says, Bank of Ghana says they want to update the CD notes. I wonder if it's due to the viral video of a printer printing money.
And it's going to be a long week. Thank you for joining us here on the Midday News on Joy 99.7 FM. Of course, there's more news when you log on to myjoyonline.com. I am MFR Poe. Thanks for your company.